Hi everyone, it's Becky here. So this video contains 3 little sketches. The first one is the bag of bread and then the sunset sky. And you can check out the cafe sketch tutorial in my previous video. And the third sketch is going to be the moon in the sunset sky outside my window. So this is a new bag of bread from grocery shopping. You can find your own bag of bread to follow along. So I'm going to sketch right here on the bottom right corner. So this time I begin by using a water-soluble graphite pencil, Faber-Castel brand. So when sketching a plastic container or package, it's actually a good idea to draw the outlines with a pencil or water-soluble pencil. So as you can see, I just drew the outline and now I'm adding the wrinkles as I see on the outside and the label shapes. And now I'm starting to draw the bread slices inside and keep adding some more package details on top, here and there, the graphics and the words. And keep adding these slices of bread divided by these curvy outlines. There's some more words on the side. As you can see, I'm using kind of different pressure with a pencil for every part of the drawing because not every single part of the outline is stiff. And just adding a bit of shade on the bottom of the bread. And now I'm ready to paint watercolors. So just kind of wetting the graphite, water-soluble graphite pencil area to let it dissolve a little bit before putting watercolors on, so the watercolors won't get too muddy. And also kind of get a sense of the plastic on top of the bread, the shines and the little shades. And now I'm ready to add a first layer for the bread, the mix of medium yellow and yellow ochre, nice and bright. As you can see, I'm kind of skipping around, especially around the middle part, to show the bright highlight of plastic on top of the bread. And for the second layer, I am grabbing some orange and put it on top. As you can see, I think the graphite pencil is kind of mixing with the orange paint. It's kind of muted down a little bit, so it's good, because the color of the bread is actually more of a muted orange. And now I'm going to leave the 2 layers of bread colors to blend together by themselves, wet in wet. While waiting, I'm going to paint the package details like the green label parts, the graphics, the shapes, and this stripe. And also keep it really simple with a limited amount of colors. It's really helpful, especially if you're a beginner, because you don't need so many colors to make an interesting painting. And now I am grabbing some burnt sienna or brown to paint the brown parts on the package. I think this is the bread graphics on there and the words. Now, third layer for the bread is this brown or burnt sienna color. And as you can see, I'm just laying this brown color on there with different kinds of brush strokes and just let the blending do the work itself without stirring too much. And now we can actually see through the 2 layers on the bottom, the orange and the yellow, and the brown on the very top. Watercolor is semi-transparent. It's very interesting to paint in layers to be able to see through the layers rather than keep stirring and trying to blend all the layers together into one. It's more interesting to see through the layers. And now I'm just adding another quick layer of darker brown by mixing brown with a little bit blue there and using the leftover blue to paint the shade part, these little streaks of the plastic package, the wrinkles, especially around the tie, around the opening, using very thin little brush strokes. And just use blue, ultramarine blue, maybe mixing with a little bit green and tiny bit of pink purple to get this grayish blue color here and there, and yeah, just leave the white highlights there. Keep it simple. Some more shade around the back too. In between the bread slices, I want a darker tone of brown by mixing blue into the brown and wetting the bottom area, and grab some more ultramarine blue mixed with pink purple to paint a very quick and light shadow. It's darker around the very bottom. The shadow is actually very light and minimal because plastic objects, they don't have a very solid shadow. And patience is also very important in painting watercolor. So I actually waited for like 3 or 4 minutes for everything to dry before I add this final layer to add more sharp definitions. It is very important to wait for your watercolors to dry up completely before adding these sharp definitions. For the dark brown gaps in between the bread slices and on their very bottom. Especially this part is right in front of you, it needs to be sharper, and this had to be done when the previous layers are completely dried. So these brush strokes are not dissolved with the wet paint. Okay, yeah, just as you can see, just using very thin brush strokes and adding 2 varieties of browns on top. This is the final polish. And some very minimal final polish for the plastic area, and be aware of the light white highlights and not covering it. That's it. That's my finished sketch of the pack of bread. It took me about 15 minutes. And moving upstairs to my reading room, I see this very nice and calm evening sky outside the window. I'm going to sketch it. I've been sketching this view so many times over the years, and every time the atmosphere and my personal feelings are different. I'm just going to sketch there on the upper corner. So I'm going to draw a very quick rectangular frame first, just to fit all of those details easily inside. And I'm starting to draw the tip of the roof of my neighbor's house and their window right there. This is a really important foreground element, to have something extremely large in the foreground to give a sense of distance. And now I just drew the contour of the forest in the distance. Underneath the forest, I have some of my neighbors' houses with a lot of triangle shapes and trapezoids, and fill in those windows with solid black, just to give those houses more density, drawing very quickly, just summarizing what I see rather than copying them exactly. There's a lamp over there, and there's another tree on the far end of the street, starting with the tree trunk, the branches, and the little twigs. We don't have to draw every single twig that's on the tree. Just quickly summarize it. Add another tree here. There's like a row of maple trees on this block, and every autumn this whole block is covered in a sea of red leaves. Very charming. And as you can see, I'm just making the tree trunks and the large branches into solid black, just so they don't compete with the other details in the back. Add a few more little details, and that's it for the drawing part. I'm gonna mainly focus on the color of the sky rather than the cityscape. And I just wetted the sky area with clear water, adding a little bit cerulean blue mixed with a little bit light green to get this blue turquoise color, nice and fresh. And blending in a little bit of ultramarine blue. Around the bottom of the sky, I sense some lemon yellow and medium yellow with a little bit orange. The color of the glowing clouds. And again, don't stir too much with a brush, otherwise it's going to get very muddy. Now I'm ready to mix some dark shades for the clouds around the bottom here and there. I just mixed ultramarine blue with some pink purple. As you can see, I'm using pretty thin brush strokes to get the details of those folds in the clouds. And mixing in a little bit of cerulean blue to change the shade of blue a little bit. It's on top of the fresh blue sky too, this smoky kind of cloud. And yeah, and just make sure we don't stir too much. Just leave the bright yellow right there. Very nice contrast so far. I think the sky is pretty much done, and I just wetted the forest area with clear water. Grabbing some viridian green, put it on, and on wet blend some oranges and yellows, because there's that glow in the forest at sunset that I see. And some more viridian green mixed with brown to get the dark green tone of the evergreen tree there. There are so many kinds of greens that we can mix with viridian green and different kinds of yellows and browns. And I just painted the rooftops with dark brown. Now I'm just using dotting brush strokes, some red oranges, to show the little flower buds on the branches and twigs of the maple tree. So maple trees, they do flower first in the spring before the green leaves comes out. And these dotting brush strokes are also adding more of an interest to this sketch, because the sky and the forest below are mostly just flat washes, and these dots are just different kinds of texture on top. It just makes this sketch look more interesting. And also I'm recording the change of the season too, adding some colors for my neighbor's house on the side. And that's it. That's my finished page spread. Again, you can check out my cafe sketch in my previous video. So I got a little tired doing a cafe sketch and 2 little sketches back home on the same day, so I laid down and to take a little nap. But then when I look outside my bedroom window, I saw this full moon rising outside, a beautiful layers of evening clouds, and I have to sketch it. So I just, get out of my bed and I start sketching it. So I just drew an open frame, put the moon up there, the forest outline right underneath, and the houses underneath the forest. I did the T-set sketch for my Sunday sketchbook class. And I was planning to have a scenery above the T-set, and now is the right time. I got this wonderful, amazing scenery right here. Now I'm ready to paint watercolors. So just wetting the whole sky area with clear water for a wet on wet technique. And yellow mixed with orange, and blend on some red to have this peachy color. It's the color that I observe using little very quick loose brush strokes to show the direction of the clouds underneath the moon, and just let the colors blend together nice and free. Some cerulean blue mixed with a little bit green to have this turquoise color around the horizon underneath these clouds. And grabbing some more cerulean blue mixed with a little bit of ultramarine blue for the sky above. Painting around the moon. I want to leave the moon nice and bright white. As you can see so far, the colors are very translucent with a lot of water and just a bit of paint pigment. And now I'm just adding this orange glow over the forest. The color of the sunset sky is reflecting onto the forest. And wet on wet, some viridian green mixed with a little bit of yellow ochre, while not painting all of the yellow glow to preserve it, to preserve the shine. And wet on wet, at this part we have to be really quick and not stirring at all. Just ultramarine blue mixed with pink purple. for the dark smoky clouds on top of the colored streaks. And at this point, you might think that these smoky clouds might look too dark. It's okay. Watercolors like this, they're gonna fade away. So these smoky clouds are actually gonna be toned down as it dries. So it's gonna look okay after a few more minutes. And okay, so no over stirring. The sky is pretty much done. And I'm gonna add more intensity for the forest. The forest is supposed to be more intense compared to the translucent sky. So viridian green mixed with some brown or burnt sienna to get this intense green and not covering the golden shine on top of the forest. Just quickly painting these rooftops with brown and dark brown. Going around the handle of the tea set is fine. Very natural overlapping and collaging. A bit of shade for the houses. And as you can see, the smoky clouds are now getting more smoother and they look just right. Just a little bit of shade for the moon there. The moon does have a little bit of shade of the craters. And that's it. That's the finished sketch. And here is the look of my finished page spread. I painted another full moon rising outside the evening sky the next day on Wednesday. So thank you so much for watching my video. If you liked my video, please click like and leave me a comment below. Subscribe to my channel for weekly updates. And I will see you again very soon next time. Have a great day.